Hi Science 10, welcome to another day of genetics. So hopefully the last lesson on codominance and incomplete dominance made sense as different types of inheritance, because today's lesson will build on those. So far you've gone over DNA, we've talked about chromosomes, karyotypes, genes, and alleles. The topic that we're covering today is multiple alleles and blood types. So we're going to learn a little bit about how you inherit blood types and what having a different blood type actually means. So just a quick review, you've got chromosomes, which are made of DNA. Sections of that DNA are called genes. Genes code for proteins, which have some function in the body. And you can have different versions of a gene, and those are called alleles. So far, all of the traits that we've looked at have had two different possible versions that you could have. So let's just kind of do a little poison ivy immunity for that. You could either be dominant and immune for poison ivy, or recessive and not immune to poison ivy. So those were the only two possible versions of this gene. When you have multiple alleles, it means that there are more than two versions of a gene. And as a result of that, you can have more combinations. So let's go into our PowerPoint here. So within a population, there are a lot of traits that are controlled by more than two versions of a gene. But then you can actually only have two of those alleles, one on each chromosome. So there's a lot of different combinations that different people can have, and therefore maybe a little more variation than when you've just got two alleles. So a common example that we use of this is blood types. So you can have 4 different blood types, and these are the phenotypes. So your phenotype can either be type A blood, type AB blood, type B blood, or O type blood. And that's going to depend on the combination of alleles you have and how those are expressed. So you might know your blood type or you might not, but you are one of these 4 types of blood. So what actually is blood type? Blood type is just what little surface proteins you have on your blood cell. So your blood cells are kind of like these little donut red shaped things. Not a full donut, they just kind of have a little like dip in the middle. And they transport oxygen around your body. So that's useful. And they will have different proteins on the outside of them that we call antigens. So you can have either no antigens, which makes you O type blood. You can have A type antigens, which makes you A type blood. You can have B type antigens, which makes you B type blood. Or you can have both A and B antigens, which makes you AB blood. So the actual alleles for blood type, so you can see here we've got 3 different alleles. So A type blood will have the A allele involved somehow. So the A allele we represent with a capital I with a superscript A. The B allele is a capital I with a superscript B, and the O allele is a lowercase I. So by now you should all have an idea of what capitals and non-capitals mean when we're talking about alleles. So the 2 capital ones, they have codominance. So when you've got 2 of those ones, they're both going to be expressed because they're codominant. Now our O allele is recessive. So when we've got our O allele combined with one of our dominant alleles, it's going to be masked. So it's only going to show up as O when there's 2, when it's homozygous recessive, right? So those are the symbols that we're going to use: capital IA, capital IB, and lowercase I. Here are the possible genotypes and phenotypes you can have. So there's a lot more combinations than with just 2 alleles, right? So you can have 2 A's, which is going to give you A type blood. You can be heterozygous for A type blood. You can be homozygous dominant for B type blood, heterozygous for B type blood. You can have a dominant, you can have an A and a dominant B, and your AB type blood, or you can be homozygous recessive, which gives you O type blood. So yeah, you've got lots of different combinations here for blood type, but for your genotypes, and then 4 different possible phenotypes. So we're just going to do a couple Punnett squares here. So in this example, we've got somebody who is A-type blood, and we're going to make them homozygous, dominant for A-type blood. And they are going to have offspring with a person who is heterozygous for A-type blood. So they've got 1 copy of the dominant allele, 1 copy of the recessive allele. And when they make babies, there is going to be a 50% chance that they are going to have homozygous dominant offspring, capital A, and there's going to be a 50% chance that they have heterozygous offspring, but all of those have A-type blood. So this should look pretty familiar. I know it looks a little bit strange with the superscripts here, like the capital A's and the B's attached to the I's, but it should look familiar and similar to the ones that you've done before. Here's another one. We're going to have 2 heterozygous people with A-type blood making offspring. And now we can see we've got a bit of a different shakeout here. So we've got a 25% chance of having a genotype of homozygous dominant, 50% chance of having a heterozygous A-type blood, and a 25% chance of having O-type, or 2 recessive alleles. So our phenotype, 75% chance that you're going to have offspring with A-type blood, which is either going to be one of these 2, and then 25% chance that your offspring is going to have O-type blood. So 2 people with A-type blood can have an O-type offspring. So if you know your parents' blood types, and if you know your blood type, you can actually potentially sometimes work backwards and figure out what the genotype is. All right, so antibodies and antigens are 2 words that we're going to use a lot. Antibodies actually attack antigens that are not normally found in your blood. So say you are somebody who has, and I'm going to actually draw this on the board here. Say you are a person who's got a red blood cell and you've got A antigens on them. And I'm just going to use triangles to represent A antigens. And then I usually draw the antigens as little squares. All right, so say you're A-type, you've got these little A antigens on your blood. If for some reason you get a blood transfusion and they were to accidentally put B-type blood into your body would actually make antibodies that would attack those antigens because your immune system thinks that this is a foreign, well, it is a foreign antigen. So it is going to make, I'm going to draw these as like little hook things. So your body is going to make these antibodies. Those are going to attach themselves onto the antigens of the B-type blood cells and actually cause clumping of your blood, which is not good. You want your blood to be able to flow in like this nice liquid state. If your blood becomes clumped, it can actually cause some pretty bad things, including death. So you don't want that. All right. So if you are A-type, you're a person with type A blood, you've got A antigens, and you've got B antibodies in the blood plasma, which is just the liquid that your blood is transporting, and then the liquid of your blood. And then if you're type B, you've got B antigens, and in your blood plasma, your immune system is creating antibodies against A-type antigens, so A antibodies. Over a little bit. Right. Now, if you are type AB, your blood cells are going to have both B and a antigens on them. So in this case, your blood plasma is not going to have any antibodies because if it had A or B antibodies, it would be causing your own blood to clump, which would be bad. Okay, last one. You've got O-type blood. You have got a naked blood cell. It has neither A nor B antigens, but it has got both B antibodies and A antibodies. And I do have a chart of this in the PowerPoint as well. I just kind of like to draw it out with shapes. All right, so if you have a look down here on the bottom, you can see pretty much what I drew out here. And this is going to affect a blood transfusion. So if we go over here, blood donation. So if you are a person with A-type blood and you receive a B-type blood donation, the antibodies that are in your blood plasma are going to attack those B antigens, cause your blood to clot, which just means like get like thick and clumpy, and then you could die. So I guess to just take a moment and just think about which of these blood types could receive donations from which other ones. So who could receive a donation from who? Maybe just pause this if you want to think about it a little more. And I'll show you the answer. All right, so if your blood type is along the top, and then you can receive is along the side here. So if you've got O-type blood, you can receive O-type blood from a donor because you aren't going to, there's no antigens for you to produce antibodies against, so you're good to go. If you're O-type and you get A-type blood, you will make A antibodies, your blood will clot and you may die. If you're O-type blood and you receive a B-type infusion, blood donation, you are going to make B antibodies, blood will clot, you'll die. If you're type AB, or if you're O and you receive AB, you're going to make both A antibodies and B antibodies, clotting of blood, not good. Okay, so that's O-type blood. You can only receive an O-type blood donor. A-type blood, you can receive O-type blood because there's no antigens to attack on it. You can also receive A-type blood donations because your body isn't making antibodies against A antigens because you've already got them in your blood. But it will make them against B, so you can't receive B or AB. If you're type B, you can receive O or B, same reasoning as the last one. And if you're AB, you don't have any antibodies in your blood plasma, so you can receive donations from everybody. So we call O-type blood the universal donor because you can receive blood, or you can donate blood to anybody because there are no antigens to attack on your blood. A B-type we call the universal receiver because you can receive a blood donation from any other blood type. So sometimes you guys might see blood donation campaigns saying that they need O-type blood quite often because O is the universal donor. So they want O-type blood because you can put O-type blood in literally everybody. And in North America, the most common blood type is O. These numbers differ a little bit depending on where you go, but about 44% of people are blood type O. The least common is AB, that's only about 4% of people. A-type makes it about 42%, and then B is about 10%. So yeah. There is a fad diet that you guys might hear about. I think it's called Eat for Your Type or something, Eat Right for Your Type. It's a blood diet based on your blood type. It's fad, it has been debunked. Your blood type does not have an effect on what foods you should be eating. If you ever go to donate blood, which is an awesome thing to do, They take about half a liter of blood, and you've got about 5 liters in your body. So yeah, it's an awesome thing to do. If you can donate blood, you should definitely do it, or definitely consider it. There is one more thing that I just want to mention. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but you've probably heard of A positive or AB positive or O negative. We put positives and negatives on the end of blood types often, and that's due to another antigen called the RH antigen. You guys don't need to know about that for Science 10, but in Biology 11 you get into it, and it's actually really interesting. So if you're interested in it, if you want to know more about that, there's a link to a video here, and you can watch past 10:45 in it, and it is pretty interesting stuff. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back to this. Just a little bit. So yeah, important things, type A blood. So your phenotype is type A. You've got A antigens, B antibodies. Your genotype can either be um, homozygous dominant or heterozygous. So this gene, this allele, the capital I with superscript A, it makes the protein for the A antigen. So as long as you got one copy of that, you are making that A antigen. B type blood, you can either be homozygous dominant or heterozygous. This allele, this IB, is making that B antigen. So as long as you've got one copy of that, you're going to make the B antigen and therefore have B type blood. AB, there's only one possible genotype for this, and this is codominance, right? So you've got codominance happening here, where both dominant traits are being expressed, both dominant alleles are being expressed. So this allele is making A antigens, this allele is making B antigens. O-type blood, only one option, two recessive alleles. And neither of these actually make an antigen, so you just don't have antigens on your blood cells. Okay, so that is blood types, and I hope that made sense. I know it can seem a little bit overwhelming, but read through the notes again, rewatch the video, ask questions. Me and Miss Steele are happy to clarify for you all. And there is an assignment posted, so work through that. And yeah, I will make another lesson next week. So bye for now.